Well, hopefully, Tio, BAP has been able to give you some solid advice there, and that you'll be able to multi-class your artificer into a clever wizard as well, and you can make all of the things. Now, what I will do is we're in a pretty good energy, a pretty good mindset after all of the untap, upkeep, draw of the channel to get into the workshop. And in fact, using Dungeons and Dragons as a basis, we can begin an examination of the party and understand what it is we can pull from the characters in order to create a story, to have compelling moments like this in the art, or to have characters like what Tio is hoping to create that will accomplish whatever story goals there are, to have the most fun time that you can. So going from this, we're going to take a step from Cyberpunk back to D&D. And you all may remember this. Now, if you're new to the workshops, since, well, even a little bit before our Christmas break last year, this may actually be brand new to you. You might go, "Oh, whoa, what's this?" And the concept here is that if you have a party, it's to encourage you to get the party laid out in such a way that you can compare it mechanically. And there's also a story building one, and we'll get to that. Not right now, though. Where we have, character X, Y, Z. You put their strength scores, their proficient saves, maybe their passive perception, passive investigation, or insight. You can put their hit points and their AC. You can list the skill proficiencies that the different members have. That way you can see, oh yeah, so we have some redundancies. We have maybe 2 or 3 people who are really good at history. And there's no one who's proficient at deception. Well, what does that tell you as a player, and also as the DM? You're good at reading about events that have happened. You're not so good at lying about what is going on. And there's other things that you can list. The languages that the party speaks. Party tools. These are tool proficiencies, instruments, stuff like that. And their general role in the party. Are they a caster, a healer, a meleeer, a ranged fighter? Are they the face? Are they good cop, bad cop? Are they, what role do they play generally within the party? And then we go from there for a nice SWOT report. I have done something similar for the 3 characters that we have made in Cyberpunk here. Bane says, I just assume that everyone is going to roll low, and I don't worry about it. Then make up new DCs after the fact. So I took each of the characters here. We had Chopper the Nomad, Butane the Rocker Boy, and Friend the Medtech. The concept is we want to run a game of Cyberpunk Red for 3 of our friends or family members. We told them, all right, use the core book, use just the book. Where did I set it? Use just the book, and you're good. And I want you to bring a character to me that is really compelling. Now, we simulated being different people with different likes and personalities by randomly generating the aspects of these characters. That way, it was out of our hands. So I called on people in chat like Bane or Noctis, etc., to roll D10s or D6s or what have you in order to fill in the character. And hopefully I didn't make too many mistakes. There might have been 1 or 2 little bloops that we made here and there going through it, because in the heat of the moment, calling on people, and especially with our med tech, I ran into some loading issues with the book. So let me show you. This is our super technical sheet. This is our worksheet. Oh my gosh. Oh, E.T. has a food coma. All right, well, enjoy your. Oh, you're just sitting back. You got your hand on your stomach, and you just this is the life. Yeah, what was for Karaj? What is that, E.T.? If you can explain. So what did I do? Nice and easy. Although it took a while because I had to reformat it and I couldn't go back and use my D&D one. Oh, so it's karage, if it's Japanese. Okay. That does sound very tasty. And we have the mechanical stats for the characters listed out. Now, this is a way that the players can check out their characters, and even for the game master to do the same thing and go, aha, I see. So we have all 3 of the characters that have brought character sheets to us, now role-playing as the game master. 40 hit points. Dumps that everything and put everything into Luxes, says E.T. Well, you could have a lot of fun playing a character like that. You could. We see that of the 3 of... so they're pretty equal here. And what does this do for us as a GM? We go, all right, well, I know how much I can rough them up before things get super tough. I can shoot at them a couple times, and, you know, if you wanted to list their armor, you know, their specifics there, you could do that too. We did have AC on the D&D sheet, but AC is not quite the same when you're hitting in Cyberpunk. In Cyberpunk, it's a contested roll for melee hits, and it is most of the time a difficulty value that you have to roll over to land a ranged hit. Now, if a character has a reflex of a reflex stat of 8 or greater, they can always opt to evade and to make it a contested roll instead of just hitting a static difficulty value. Now, in this case, none of these characters have an 8 or greater. So that is not a consideration for us as the game master. All the shots are going to be versus difficulty value. The difficulty value depends on the weapon being shot and the range to the target. And so that's information that you'd have written alongside your gun, or whatever, bonking stick, or whatever else that you're wielding. If you're using martial arts, there's some other things to consider too. we take a look and we go, all right, well, what's our humanity looking like? Man, Chopper has led a rough life. Not that 36 is necessarily bad, but we can sit back and go, of all the people who are going to snap first, it might just be Chopper who's been under a lot of stress in life. Now, I have friend in brackets because I took the average I took the average equipment from the book, which had the average humanity loss. And I did that because, again, we were running into some problems during the last broadcast where the equipment chapter wasn't loading, and we just sort of skipped over that. So we have our rocker boy is the most humane. Now, in a game like Vampire the Masquerade, oh, sorry everyone. If you're watching this later on YouTube, hi YouTube. It is 12:39 a.m. So it's been a day before we get into our workshop. But we can see if we want to stress the humanity here. Well, there's not humanity exists in Vampire the Masquerade, but it works different mechanically. As you lose humanity in VTM, it actually becomes more difficult to lose more humanity. It's also difficult to gain humanity as a vampire. In Cyberpunk Red, you can lose humanity simply by upgrading yourself, or, pardon, you live in a giant megapolis, you see some pretty messed up stuff happening, you could open your door and you find out that your neighbor slipped into cyberpsychosis and is eating his wife in the hallway after she tried to like escape and go get help. And you walk out the door, nom nom nom. You close the door and lock it, and you probably will lose some humanity from witnessing such a barbaric thing, such a callous thing, such an inhumane thing. Now in Red, it's easy to lose, but also kind of easy to gain. You can increase your humanity by going to therapy or, role-playing through certain things, and your GM might award you humanity for it. So it's a little bit more easy come, easy go than Vampire. As in Cyberpunk, if you get to below 1 humanity, that's the cyberpsychosis hitting. Now, if you want to roleplay, a lower humanity is affecting your mood and how you interact with people, that is your call. Again, there are mechanics for what happens to your character the lower in humanity you get in VTM. In Cyberpunk, if you bring something to the table to consider it, cool. And your GM might also consider that for purposes of, well, you know what? Butane and Friend are probably going to lose 6 humanity for witnessing the cannibalism in the hallway. Chopper, you're only losing 3 because, unfortunately, this ain't your first rodeo. And, so there could be considerations like that, but it's nothing that's necessarily hard-baked into the rules where it's tougher to lose because you're getting more callous to the world, etc. So this gives us an idea of where the characters are at in a mechanical attitude or a mechanical exposure to things. Yep, just doom scroll Twitter a bit. Humanity drops like a rock. It's a I'm sorry, the in-universe is not Twitter, it is Z-Chat. It is Z-Chat. And welcome back, Rip Artist. Okay, so what about intelligence? Well, we see who the smartest person in the room here is, right? We give that award. You know, we give that award to Friend. What about reflexes? Our twitchiest member is Chopper. Now, what about Dex? Dex is a bodily stat. In D&D, you know, you could stab with strength or Dex, as Dex could be the flick of the wrist, or it's, you know, aiming and you know, having those. Dex is strength and dexterity in D&D terms inside Cyberpunk. If you're swinging a bat or something, boom, there you go. And it looks like we actually have a pretty high Dex for both Friend and Chopper. We come down here to tech. Friend is absolutely winning that race. If we come over to cool, we have a pretty cool party. Friend and Chopper are both fairly cool. Look at that 8 and a 7. We have another 8 and a 7 with Will, though this is between Friend and Butane. Luck? They're all fairly lucky. So we have our two highest here. The quickest person, the person who can move actually across the map the quickest, is Butane with a 7. And no one really has too high. They all have kind of a mid body score, which is one of the reasons why most of them just have 40 hit points and not higher, since their body is not higher. Then we come over here to empathy, and here we see a little bit of the suffering. The number in parentheses is what their beginning empathy was. The number outside the parentheses is what their empathy has been modified to by the loss of humanity. For whatever has happened in life. Cybernetic upgrades, you see some terrible stuff going on. That can lower your empathy, because you get 10 humanity for every 1 empathy. Meaning we started with 5, but because we lost 14 and went to 36, our empathy is 3. I hope that makes sense to you all. Hey, have a good night, Bap. Thank you for hanging out and helping to give Tio Must Frio some advice. Now, if you want, you can color code things like what you see me doing here. You know, if we go, all right, yeah, you know, we're gonna color code any like 3s. This is super dangerous territory here. This is lower, very low, you know, very low chance of things happening with this stat. And if you want to increase things, maybe we could go through with our 4s. And our 4s can become orange as more, you know, it's not terrible, it's definitely cautionary. If you go through and you say, okay, 5s, you know, 5 isn't too terrible, we can make this yellow, you know, it's a general caution, it's a mid-range color, we can, that's not going to show up too well, just trust me, everyone, it is totally yellow. Let's make that... we'll make it violet. Then we get to some safer numbers, as we are now above average. We are in the last half of the race to 10. We have these nice 6s, and we can turn these green. As it's a more beneficial. And then 7s are like, yeah, blue sky, right? Oh, if you have a 7 in a stat, that's really good, let alone an 8. And if you wanted to distinguish the 8s and have that be something, super duper. I don't know. You can take that higher as I don't know, something else. Your call. You get the example though, right? Or you could do it in tiers where like 2 and 3 is this, 4 and 5 is this, 6 and 7 is this, 8 and higher is beautiful. All day, every day. I want to roll those skills and those stats. Hi CD, it's good to see you. Thank you for popping by. So we get a sense now, and of what's happening. And by the way, if any of you have color blindness and colors aren't your thing, you can put I guess the numbers are the symbols themselves. But if there's something more visual, stars or circles or whatever else next to the number to help out, this is not the only way you can do this. This is simply a way, and I'd like you to think creatively for whatever is going to work for you at your table. Now, why do I have Control 9+? If you have a 9+ as a base in any of your control stats, if we come over here are your control skills: drive land vehicle, pilot air vehicle, pilot sea vehicle, or riding, then you are presumed in the rules to just be able to do basic driving with no rolls are needed to that point. It's a bit of a threshold of your GM, unless there's something really happening that would complicate things. You're in a high-speed chase. You hit an oil slick. You could play Mario Kart in Cyberpunk because someone might actually have missiles or banana peels or something in their car in order to slip you up or to get you to blow up. So I put this on my worksheet because this is telling me that Butane and Friend may be able to drive, but if they're gonna drive, I'm gonna have to call for some checks because they're not the best at it. In fact, maybe as characters, they don't have their license or something, or they don't have the ability to drive in a practiced sense. Now, Chopper has a 13 in air vehicle control, and so for the most part, if we're talking everyone's scooting around in an air vehicle, unless there is a lightning storm and hurricane winds or something, then Chopper is going to be able to get everyone from point A to point B with really no rolls. I as the GM can look at that and go, okay, I have that threshold of activity of what the calls will need to be. And as the party is examining themselves through this filter, they can go, yeah. So, Chopper, thank you for driving us. And maybe Butane rides shotgun and Friend rides in the back in case something happens. Now, as we continue to scroll down, I have a list of skills. And why do I not have... We'll see if anyone can take a guess here. Why is it that I don't have every skill listed? Coming off of that particular lesson or consideration, why don't I have every single skill listed on this sheet? CD says, I had a question while you were last playing a game, and I'm guessing you were too busy to see it. What tabletop software do you use for your mapping while playing? Roll20.net. We're playing on Roll20 as our virtual tabletop. In a sense, Rosewolf, that's true, because look, if we take a look here at Nomad, if Nomad wants to dance, then Nomad is rolling with a +8. That's not too terrible, but there's no level to the skill. This is all stat. It would be like untrained or the like in Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, or such a low number. Now, I'm going to bring up the rule book and show you, because it sounds like you all have you figured me out. Whoops. If we go back here to getting it done, if you take a look, every skill does have an expanded explanation of what it is. And you might go, athletics, skill of jumping, climbing, throwing, swimming, lifting weights, etc. It combines the basic elements of any high school level sports program. This skill also covers thrown weapons. Gotcha. Now, there's another part that we didn't specifically get into when we were reviewing the basics of the game. And if we take a look here, let's use athletics. At a base 10, you are the equivalent of a real high school jock, able to run long distances and lift a respectable amount. At a base 14, you can perform in college-level competitions and hold your own in all sorts of athletic challenges. At a base 18, you are you are of Olympic or professional caliber, and it's rare you meet someone who matches your skill. Let's take a look at perception. The skill of spotting hidden things like clues, traps, and people using the stealth skill, but not objects hidden with the conceal or reveal object skill. Oh, makes sense. But wait, there's more! At a base 10, you know how to keep an eye out and your spatial awareness is better than the average person. At a base 14, you always know roughly what's going on around you, and only trained professionals can sneak up on you. At a base 18, you are trained to scan rooms for traps. You can spot tiny clues like scratches on doorknobs, and you can predict who is entering a room by how they turn that knob. So similar to piloting a vehicle or riding an animal, these skills have baked into them considerations for what you may or may not need to roll for. It can be presumed that if you have a 10 plus in a skill, that is going to negate a swath of actions that you may normally have to roll for. In a sense, this is like having every skill be a passive skill in Dungeons & Dragons. Afterfoff says, "Hello, Maddie. As a result of supporting my local comic book / gaming store, I had rewards points to spend and bought a paperback copy of Pathfinder Complete Core Rules for $9. And tonight at my D&D game, I gifted some minis that I won on your stream. My friends love them." That is great. Afterfoff, thank you for sharing the love and the respect of role players, of their imaginations, and of course scratching that itch of having some minis to help create some cool encounters and conceptualize our characters on the tabletop. So what I did here, for each of the characters, I checked out what is it that they have at least a 10 in. At least a 10 in. that they can ignore some particular rolls. Now, if we want to go back and we want to check character by character, let's see, stealth on Chopper, I think is the, stealth, brawling, evasion, melee. Stealth, brawling, evasion, melee. Okay. So I'm adding color to those that are at a base 14. Now, none of them have an 18 or higher. They're not that experienced yet, but maybe soon. Let's take a look real quick at our rocker boy, Butane. Concentration. Concentration is the only one. Now, lastly, let's take a look at Friend. Does Friend have a 14 plus in something? No. There's a lot of high ones. There's none that are 14 plus. Okay. Now we can go, all right, so let's look at Chopper with tracking. Oh, did I... Tracking. The skill of following a trail by observing tracks and other clues left behind. At base 10, you've done some hunting, whether that's animals or people is up to you. At a base 14, you could be a professional bounty hunter with enough knowledge to track people who are actively covering their tracks. At a base 18, you are almost impossible to shake. Once you get a trail, you can follow it to the ends of the earth. Okay. We come over to stealth, because stealth now, we have not only the base 10, we have a base 14. So not only can we get past most guards or your parents if you've been grounded, at a base 14, you are good enough to slip smoothly from shadow to shadow and not make any noise. You can avoid guards and lose pursuers easily. So we know, baked into this number that we have over here, that if someone is going to stealth, Chopper is the one, because Chopper can ignore a lot of those more common instances of stealthing. What about something like concentration? This is what Butane is especially good at. Skill of focus and mental control, encompassing feats of memory, recall, and physiological control. At a base 10, you've got a pretty solid memory and can keep your head in a firefight against the local boosters. At a base 14, you've trained your mind to retain knowledge and probably meditate regularly. It takes a fair amount to shake you. So what can Butane do with this knowledge or this skill, even passively, as a rocker boy? If you're the GM and Butane's player presented you this character, having the 14 plus in concentration tells you what? At a base 10, you've got a pretty solid memory and can keep your head in a firefight against the local boosters. Ooh, there's a cat around some. Ooh, there's two cats around. Where'd they go? There actually could be, not unlike the store. At base 14, you've trained your mind to retain knowledge and probably meditate regularly. What would this mean to you? Put yourselves in the GM shoes. Thank you, Rip. A little bit GMV. I blame not having a fortune in my cookie tonight. All right, maybe this skill might be a little bit more esoteric. The skill of focus and mental control, encompassing feats of memory, recall, and physiological control. Butane, our rocker boy, is a fact dispenser. Oh yeah, I remember reading about this in the newspaper. Or is the one who can come up with all kinds of bits of knowledge. Or if there's something that's causing a panic, butane, through concentration, without even needing to roll, would probably not suffer penalties to a firefight or swinging against a bat against an enemy, is able to probably shirk off other things that would incur negative penalties, whether it's mechanical or some kind of a social interaction. In other words, butane is the meat and sarcasm guy. And as you're looking through, with this being revealed, maybe this is giving you another sense of, oh, whoa, what's this? These skills actually do more than just what it obviously says. Because the skills can automatically take care of a lot of stuff for you. Let's go to Brawling. Let's go to Brawling and find out what happens if you are actually pretty decent at it, as Chopper is. Chopper will qualify for the base 14. Brawling is the skill at fighting and grappling with brute strength. There we go. No formatting. One sentence. Nice and easy. You go, cool. I know that I have to roll Brawling plus Dex plus D10 plus circumstantial modifier against the evasion, and all that to hit, right? At a base 10, you're a pretty good bar brawler, and you can hold your own in a fist fight. You know how to throw a punch and some of the intricacies of wrestling. Does that alone mean that you don't roll into initiative, or that people can't swing on you? Not necessarily. But let's say something did happen where a bar brawl level fight broke out. It might be a lot easier for your GM to simply say, you know how to handle yourself here, and you can get out of the fight. You might win the fight depending on the circumstances. At this level, you know what to do. There could be your GM might go, yeah, you know what? Because you have the base 10 little and the 14, I'm going to give you some bonuses in this environment because you're not distracted. You know what to do. You know where to punch them to make it hurt, etc. At a base 14, you could be a professional fighter in any number of pit fighting arenas or official venues around the city. You can lay out most opponents, and while you don't have a lot of finesse, you know how to use your strength to your advantage. Okay, so now this is telling us that maybe we have modifiers to concentration. Uh-oh. It's Dat Boy Nate! Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, Dat Boy Nate. Thank you for coming over with your party of 11 to our Cyberpunk Red storytelling workshop. Let's give you a shout out. Hi, Duelist, and thank you for the first-time chat. Yep, we are discussing Cyberpunk Red. This is our third week in the workshop, but even though you all just came in, if it interests you, don't worry. Anything that we've gone over before is being reviewed and used in what we're currently doing. So you haven't lost out on anything here. You're very welcome, as always, Nate. You know you're welcome in the Hero Zone anytime. And what was going on in your D&D game? And you know that you're always welcome to promote your channel. Tell us what was going on. This is a 10th session, another workshop. It was mini painting or something else. You just completed a big story, and tonight was the victory lap and celebration. Episode 29 tonight, party dealing with the fallout of slaying a Dracolich, marching towards their fate of slaying a god. That is quite the ponderous orb on the horizon that they're moving towards, Nate. My gosh. Was this the hard-fought victory? Are they celebrating? Or are they going, you know what? What we did wasn't good, but it was the lesser of two evils, and maybe they don't feel good about it, but it was better than the other option? Is there a moral conflict to what's going on? Or is everyone dancing and singing and doing the Yub Nub Ewok dance and song? So for you as the player, to help remind your GM, because your GM might not memorize all these, although this is why a GM could very well have one of these printed out and kept, on that end of the table for reference. They love to argue amongst themselves. Their victory was extremely hard fought. Yep, that's how it goes, Rosewolf. Right, you start a game, and your first big fight is versus like a decrepit goblin that was left behind by the others after the farm raid, and then by level 20, you're felling an ancient pantheon of the entire people of the world. Uh-oh, dramatic dun 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 for Nate's game. Well, I'm glad everyone's into it, Nate. That is, if you get people leaning forward, even if you're all sharing a webcam, you know that you're doing something right. And you're certainly welcome to continue talking about it. I want to make sure that I finish up the point that I'm making here on the worksheet as well. So I'm not ignoring you. You're certainly welcome to talk about that. You came in strong with a raid, and I appreciate it. So these are good considerations for you and your GM to help that level of professionalism, where the player who is piloting Chopper might say to you as the GM, I got this person in the bar who wants to throw down. Can I just do like a one-hit KO, just like right there, right to the chin, person goes down, and there we go. Yeah, you know what? Given the power level, because remember, this goes for the NPCs also. If you are playing in a game of Cyberpunk Red, there's an NPC out there who has a base 14 brawling. This same consideration can be used against you. This is not just you inflicting it on NPCs and villains. I mean, villains are NPCs, but you get what I'm saying. What about evasion? What's going on with evasion? The skill for getting out of the way of someone attacking you in melee. A character with reflex 8 or higher can also use this skill to dodge ranged attacks and explosions. At a base 10, You're fast on your feet, and when in need, you can usually get out of the way. That might be something like, you hear a car coming, honk, honk, and you kind of snap out of it because you were lost in your thoughts. You're able to jump back. Maybe no evasion call is needed. At a base 14, you're quick enough to dodge most gangers, and you can even hold your own against skilled combatants armed with monokatanas and monofilament whips. That is a sense of confidence. Maybe that would lead you to encourage someone to fight you because you know that you can dodge out of most of their attacks. If you're quick on your feet, and in this case for Chopper can not just evade and dance around, but also can avoid but give. And to me, knowing where that this combat skill is useful, it would have me tailor the encounter a little bit better. Because Chopper is a unique character in this regard. Now, what about melee weapon? The skill for fighting with melee weapons. Ah, cool, thank you. How insightful. At base 10, you are trained with melee weapons. You can hold your own in a sword fight or a knife fight, and if you get your hands on a lead pipe, you can be a pretty dangerous bar fight opponent. At a base 14, you are well versed in the ins and outs of melee combat. You probably carry a melee weapon with you, just in case, and it may be your preferred weapon. Ah, okay. I'm getting a sense of scale, how this character lives and interacts with other people in the city. In the setting. The setting will be the city that... Anyway, you'll get it in tomorrow's. I'm not worried about the setting right now, but it's going to be the city. Sierra Echo, thank you for hanging out. Now we can see we had 3 characters made in 3 different ways. Chopper was made with the street rat, the template form of building a character. And if you look, this isn't too bad here. We have some pretty decent numbers for a template character. Butane was made using the edgerunner method. And that is, there's freedom within some templates. Then we have Friend, who was made, everything, it was the complete package is what it's called. Friend was from the ground up built every little bit here and there. So we have some pretty strong stats because we were given a maximum pool and we didn't have to rely on things that could possibly be, too low or whatnot. You see a lot of blue numbers here. There's a green. Our lowest is a 3 in reflex, but hopefully we have other people covering us for that. We have our shield and whatnot because we could purchase that. But you can get a sense of the scale because look, when we get to control every little bit of the character, we may not even have base 10, so we're going to be rolling a lot. But a lot of our rolls are going to be higher. Let's go and take a look at Friend real quick. Did we come close with a 13? It looks like 12 is the closest here. We do have Conceal a Reveal Object, which is at least a base 10. So I'm sorry, I guess there's not a lot of special situations. A lot of these are at least at a base 10, right? Sorry, that was my mistake for getting ahead of myself here. We have Deduction. We have we're not too good at fighting. But come over here and you're like, oh, what does having a 10 in street slang or Creole do for us? Do we just talk all fancy? Well, in a bit. I went too far, everyone. There we go. Language. Skill of speaking a particular language. You must choose a specific language whenever you increase that skill. At a base 10, you can speak the language well enough to get by on the street, but you don't understand a lot of the slang. At a base 14, you are a fluent speaker of the language, and most people assume you grew up speaking the language. So in this case, everyone starts out at 2 plus their int stat. The common tongue, common as per D&D, is called street slang. A lot of characters may not have even a base 10 in street slang. If we take a look at our rocker boy, and our chopper here, they're not so good at speaking street slang. At least without having to roll. I should say. They can speak a language. We have Chopper, who can speak street slang in Mandarin Chinese, street slang in Mayan, and street slang in Creole here. Now we have Speak Friend, and a lot can be uncovered because we at least have enough to get by without needing to think about it, without having to roll or need a bunch of nuance for what's going on. Though beyond, maybe some basic stuff or talking with just some very personal friends or family, both Chopper and Butane are going to have at least some troubles understanding in an active situation where they have to maybe actively listen to spy on something. They don't have time to think about it or have a rapport with the other person who's speaking in order to pick up on the body language to help fill in the gaps of the words. I hope that makes sense. Now, what about your home? What about local expert your home? We had homes. We have homes also. In particular here, Friend has that base 10 in your home. What does that do? Local expert, skill of knowing a specific area well and knowing the agendas of its various factions, both political and criminal. You must choose a specific location whenever you increase this skill, which cannot be any larger than a single neighborhood or community. So, you can't say I'm a local expert Night City. Night City is far too large for you to be a local expert. You may be a local expert of your block, of your like mega stack of apartments. You might be able to convince your GM that each part of the city, like Haywood Industrial, is my local expert. That Old Europe Town, or I might have messed up the area. Sorry, is your local, or your GM might say, no, you don't get it. Like, this is where a lot of Europeans are, but I want you to go. Do you know Little Italy? Are you an expert in Little Italy? Are you a person who knows what happens in Little England, or like Little London or something, if you want to call it that? That might be the scale, and that's something for you to talk about, right? Discuss that with your GM. At a base 10, you know the area pretty well, where to go to get whatever you need, where to avoid, what the local public factions are like. Our doc here, our med tech, can get around in his neighborhood pretty well. If someone needs something, there's no need to roll tracking or perception or streetwise or a lot of other things, because we have a natural comfort with that area at a base 10. And if we continue to increase that, at a base 14, you are well acquainted with the area, and not only do you know the basics, but you are aware of the underlying problems, factions, and rules that the average tourist isn't. At a base 18, you could act as a tour guide for the area. You've poked your nose in everywhere, talked to most of the people, seen the sights, and experienced most of what the area has to offer. You are almost never at a loss for info. So if you're operating in that neighborhood for most of a story that you're building, right, we're building stories, then by that point, if you put extra points into it, there's a lot that is automatic. Or if you super need to get something rare, or you're like, do I know any, like, for some reason I need I need like a 59-year-old Ethiopian man for some very specific reason, then you're rolling pretty high already. So while it is a super rare and obscure thing, you're probably going to be able to get it done. And why do you need to roll at certain points, even if you have the base 10, 14, or 18? Well, because you still have to... Let me get to it here. Shame on me, I forgot the page here. You still have to roll for some things. I might have gone too far. Because there is a basic... Yeah, that's Friday Night Firefight. Ba-da-ba-boo! Thank you. Yeah, that's net running. And, so yes, Telephoto 80, thank you very much for the follow. I hope that you are enjoying this, even though I completely went in the wrong direction, I believe. From, from where I needed to go here. As there are some basic difficulties in trying to resolve, skill checks. Now, within some specific instances, for example, driving, you may have a particular, you want to do a hairpin turn, it's this. You want to do a, a sudden stop, it's that. But there are also very broad... I'm sorry I didn't have this bookmarked, everyone. I'm so awkward. Modifying the attempt, trying again. Here we go. The difficulty values. No matter... You don't level up in this game the same way that you would in D&D. Your starting character is, for the most part, how your end game character will look. Just your end game character will be a bit more polished and maybe have a little bit more breadth and or depth. A simple, and so you could probably accomplish these checks on a more regular basis as you dump your points into increasing your stats and skills, or you upgrade yourself to give you these bonuses. But these values are the same. In D&D, a hard check is a different number in level 1 through 4, it might be 1 through 3, as opposed to this next tier, next tier, and next tier. In Cyberpunk Red, from the very first session through your very end, something simple. This is something most people can do without thinking, but which might be hard for a small child. This, every day. This feat is something most people can do without a lot of special training. By the way, if you have a base 10, what does that mean? If you have a base 10, you are beating simple tasks. You see where this is all coming back together now? You're beating simple tasks of that specific nature. What is our other, what's our other base measurement? 14. We can beat everyday stuff. This feat is something most people can do without a lot of special training. If you have a 14 as a base in a stat, this is the level you're exceeding. What about something difficult? This feat is difficult to accomplish without training or natural talent. Now, the last passive level for skills is an 18, because 18 beats 17. You are a professional in this now. You are a professional, you can do professional things on a rather easy basis. You don't have to roll for as much as other people who aren't professionals in this field would. This feat takes actual training, and the user can be considered to be a professional, skilled in their abilities. After this, heroic. This is a highly skilled feat, one that only the best of the best can pull off. This is the level of sports stars and other highly regarded superstars. As a beginning character, is it possible to roll this? Probably if you crit, right? You get lucky, or you even pump up something with luck, because that's what you can do in this game. So you might do something lucky one time. Now, as you put more investment in your character, you can do heroic things more commonly. You could have an incredibly difficult thing to do. This is a tremendous feat. Pulling this off would rate you among the very best of your class professionally. You are of truly Olympian mettle. This is not just for you as the player, but for your GM to consider as well. What is the magnitude of the task at hand? And lastly, legendary. An awe-inspiring feat. This is something people write stories about. A truly amazing accomplishment that will be spoken of in hushed tones for years to come. So 129 is the reference for this, and you can see why there were basic breaks at 10, 14, and 18. So rolls are still necessary for things that might fall outside of these general concerns or these general circumstances. The one somewhat exception was if you have a 9+. A 9+, you can do all basic driving, right? And there's not really a need for a roll there. Like if you're meeting the 9, not beating the 9, you can take grandma to her doctor's appointment. You could, on a really nice day, you could go out to the grocery store. You could probably handle stop and go traffic. So while the volume of the traffic is heavy, it's not really complex to navigate. You would probably need to roll some sort of a drive check if it's snowing, a heavy rain, if there's fog or something along those lines. If you have the base 10, maybe the rain isn't too bad of an issue. Maybe the snow, driving in the snow falls off at 14. You work with your GM to determine that and to come up with what it is that is going to be your threshold, right? Where you want to draw the line, I guess, or just as a GM to save time, not everything has to be a die roll. And this system is saving you with explicit descriptors, is saving you a lot of time and on things that would be needless to roll. You still can. It's fun. I enjoy rolling dice. Now, if any of you have questions on... if any of you have questions on this, you're welcome to ask. What we're going to do is get up and take a small break. From here, we are going to go into another way that you can measure your party as a party member or as a game master. We're going to talk about a SWOT analysis, and we're going to go through another fun exercise in order to extract some good roleplay information. So I hope you'll stick around. I'm going to be up for at least 5, maybe 10 minutes, just to walk around, stretch my legs out, refresh myself, and we'll come back, and we're going to keep this going. I hope you're finding this fascinating with a little bit more detailed dive, right? Baby steps, one at a time, and ask questions if you got them. I don't want this to feel overwhelming, because it isn't. It might be new, but I believe in you. You can handle this, and I think you can pick up the gist of it, so you're familiar with, if not what happens, then where to look about what could happen.